This is Movietone. Leslie Mitchell reporting. Of all the dramatic chapters in modern history, none has been so poignant as the defeat of France in 1940. France, the birthplace of the Revolution, the country of Napoleon, the European victor of the 1914 war, France broken in 6 weeks of blitzkrieg fighting and forced to seek terms. Paris shuddered at the impact of conquering feat, while the armistice was staged with diabolical irony in the same coach, in the same clearing at Compiègne, where Foch granted terms to the Germans on November the 11th, 1918. Thousands of gallant Frenchmen refusing to accept defeat crossed somehow to carry on the fight from Britain. It has been their reward to see the tide of fortune reversed, the German armies broken in the Mediterranean and French power revived in North Africa. Meanwhile, what has been happening inside France? German-controlled French newspapers, abetted by the Paris radio, churn out Nazi propaganda, but they can't conceal the fact that true patriot hearts have never capitulated. Frenchmen are seizing every opportunity to express their hatred and derision of collaboration. Against Bolshevism easily becomes against the Boche. Clandestine newspapers tell the real story. Their continual appearance, more than 1.5 million copies were printed in 1943, is witness enough to the endurance and willpower of the resistance movement. How they've succeeded in carrying on their work in spite of all repression and reprisals will someday be told. But just notice how one paper may appear in several different guises, prepared perhaps by successive survivors of Gestapo manhunts. News of the resistance movement in the cities occasionally arrives, but for obvious reasons, pictures are rare. Therefore, this scene is of particular interest. It shows the havoc caused at Grenoble when the German artillery park, with 150 tons of explosives and a great mass of ordnance, was blown up by French patriots. Taken silent, with a small cine camera, these pictures, after being smuggled into this country, have been enlarged to standard size. The sufferings of the French population were philosophically born. After all, it was a powerful blow at the German war effort. A parallel movement has grown up in the countryside. France contains certain inaccessible and mountainous districts such as Auvergne and Haute-Savoie. In these areas, the emblem of Free France has been raised by men of the Maquis. The Maquis is, in its original sense, low scrub, and men of the Maquis are guerrilla fighters who go into hiding in the scrub and sally out in their good time to strike blows at their enemies. The name has also been extended to cover a unit of such men. Here, for instance, is one of several Maquis which appear in this film. The camp is run on military lines, every man with his appointed job, either his own trade or one he's picked up there. Don't cut my hair too short, I might look like a German. In this camp, they're ambitious. They're building huts, although the likelihood is that before many days they'll be moving on to other sites. Is it surprising that the French authorities who issued this film are willing that the faces of these young men should appear on a screen where they may be identified? No, not if you realize that these young men are already marked. They're already known to the enemy, for they made a dangerous decision when they refused to answer the call-up to German labor camps. They cheerfully face up to a certain death if they are caught. The fact that they are seen to be in arms against the Germans adds nothing to the risk they already run. Yes, they're in arms against the Germans, and though not all of them are so well armed, here's a unit which boasts its mechanized transport. Possibly these lorries and motorcycles were lifted from the store of some Vichy youth organization. Possibly some officer of Vichy's small army, demobilized in 1942, brought them with him when, with a band of other hardy spirits, he retired into the mountains. That's the way this movement originated. It has grown until now it's a large, fully organized movement with training units and courses for officers. Operations, of course, may have to be conducted simultaneously with training. That might be a handicap. On the other hand, the operations do make the reasons for training more obvious. Skill and knowledge can be tested almost immediately. Officers can be selected on proved valor and ability to take command rather than on educational qualifications. Somewhere here above the snow line is yet another camp in the traditional setting for resistance warfare. Today it's being visited by leaders of the resistance movement. One of those men, climbing the hill with his back to us, is an important man in France's destiny. This film, the first to be shot in an occupied country and brought out by patriots, tells us that the spirit of France is still very much alive. The Maquis, as the standard bearers of resistance, are themselves a portent. Here are men drawn from all classes. Social differences have vanished. Their officers are those whose authority derives only from power to command. Here is a real solidarité. Here is being laid the basis for a regenerated France. As a precept of faith, what better motto could you devise than vaincre ou mourir, to conquer or die?